Of MidDays, we're live today at the Mississippi Armed Forces Museum at Camp Shelby. That's because it's Veterans Day, and we're pleased to welcome now Colonel Mark Prine. So, Colonel, tell us about Veterans Day and why it's so dang important for us to honor and recognize the service of Americans, veterans who've preserved our freedoms and allow us to enjoy the bounty that we do.
Yeah, it's just an amazing holiday that we get to recognize those people who have served our nation. I mean, from even before we were a nation through those who are serving now and those who will serve in the future, because it's just so important to protect those freedoms that we've had. And they've done that so many times. And I want to, where our veterans serve our nation, let's also recognize those family members who sacrificed that allow those veterans to serve. I was thinking this morning about 1940. President Roosevelt mobilized the National Guard for a year. And, the story was, don't worry, dear, I'll be home in a year. And yet in December of 1941, that year became almost, another 5 years worth of service for them.
Incredible, no doubt about it. All right, so the museum, you're the special projects coordinator and also serve as the president of the museum board. It's just an incredible asset for the state of Mississippi, and everybody that walks through here. I've talked to a lot of people after I've done the show that have heard us, being here and have come because they heard us on the air discussing the museum. And many of them will write back on the text line or just individuals that I know personally. They're always, of course, just blown away when they go through here.
It is a phenomenal space. I was in a sister state this past week and went to their Armed Forces Museum, and there's nothing that compares to this.
That's awesome.
So to have this much space and be looking down the road for the next iteration of what this is going to look like, because we have two massive warehouses full of items that we don't have on display now.
That's incredible.
That we can go forward with this and continue to honor those Mississippians who have served our nation from before we were even a state all the way through our service now. Is
there still possible discussion about possibly moving the facility and getting it a little closer to 49?
Yes, we're still looking. The state has acreage now that does not actually connect to 49, but is very close to it. So we're working to acquire some additional property that will give us direct access to 49 into the museum's parking lot. So, and right now we're about 20,000 square feet, and as Tommy Lofton and I talk about often, we're looking at probably the next one somewhere around 200,000 square feet.
Well, I was going to say, if you've got warehouses full of artifacts, you need more space.
We need lots more space, yes, sir. And where we sit now would be a great place to do that, but we are surrounded by historic areas that we can't go out. So we need to go someplace that gets a little bit easier access for folks and also gives a lot more ground to expand.
Makes sense. So Colonel, you were talking about visiting another state's museum and how it really doesn't compare to this one. Are we recognized on the national stage for this particular facility?
Yes, we are recognized as one of the top state military history museums in the nation. And as a matter of fact, we have next week the planning committee will be here to bring all of the National Guard historians and curators here over in March, I believe. Okay. And they'll come and visit and use this facility to do their annual meeting, but to also see how we preserve and how we curate and work with our community here.
Yeah, it's awesome. And, of course, we've been here for Memorial Day as well, a more somber military recognition day, and you guys have been honored to have Gold Star families in your presence, where you've actually recognized those families for the service of their family member, and they, of course, perishing as part of their service.
Yes, and we are always honored to have them. We have the state's first Gold Star monument here on the grounds of the museum, and we constantly are having Gold Star families now reaching out to us. When we first started this, it was Gold Star families from World War II. Now we're moving on up into Gold Star families from Vietnam and even the global war on terror that are reaching out and going, hey, here are the artifacts of our loved one, and we would like for you to curate them, make sure that they're maintained over the years and are on display.
That's awesome. And so when we were talking to Tommy, it's always amazing that you've got artifacts and exhibits that date back to before Mississippi was a state.
Yes. Yes.
That's incredible.
It is. We recently acquired one. It's a mortar that would be coming from. It was made in England. We think it came here for the French and Indian Wars. It's got the markings of George II, the father of George III, who we fought in the American Revolution on there, and we've got that artifact that we would like to be on display because everybody goes, well, Mississippi wasn't around when the American Revolution went on, but so many of the people who founded Mississippi and set up the state were American Revolution and War of 1812 veterans.
That's incredible. And then progressing all the way through up until present day, right?
Yes, Global War on Terror. We were picking up some artifacts recently from a Global War on Terror service member who had items that we wanted to curate and bring in. That Global War on Terror is kind of interesting because so much of it is controlled as far as what veterans were able to bring back, but written documentation and artifacts that they brought back with them are just really quite phenomenal, and we're really beginning to see a lot of those turned into the museum.
Incredible. And of course, I'm always intrigued with the Vietnam exhibits, and I think mainly because I was a youngster, I was a kid, and it was really the first war that we saw on television.
Yes.
And I can't forget those, just watching those daily reports. You remember that we had 3 news networks, and they got 30 minutes a day, and you'd always get the MIA and the KIA, and often reporters on the field reporting. And that was the first time we ever had that.
Yes, and we're able now to reach out and get permission to use a lot of that, especially when it involves Mississippi's. And we're really starting to find a lot of those that are coming back all the way back to World War II.
Wow.
We have recently found some footage of Miss Vera Anderson in the welding competition in 1944 that we're able to get some rights to the show, and we continue to bring that forward. But, like for Korea and Vietnam, and especially the Global War on Terror, there's just massive amounts of footage out there that we're able to go and extract those things that apply to the Mississippians and apply them not just a place to come, a museum to come and read stuff off the wall, but, hey, there's video footage. I remember seeing one recently about the 155's first deployment overseas, and they were flashing it up, and I was going, oh, yeah, I watched that in Kuwait while the 155 was getting ready to come join us there. It's kind of going, that's kind of cool.
That's awesome. And we should also talk about where we are at Camp Shelby here. What a critical asset this has been to America's military efforts for a long time.
A long time, since 1917, and we continue to see just a massive growth in the use of Camp Shelby. Look, we've talked before about we went to Joint National Training Capacity Certification back about 4 years ago, and we continue to see more and more of our joint brethren and sisters come here to train. We just recently had a very large force of Marine Corps, the Marine Corps training here. This year we've had our first time with the 53rd Infantry Brigade combat team from Florida came here to train. They absolutely loved it. They want to come back. And we continue to see just, this year we'll probably set a record because it's always been, we'd have 363 out of 365 days somebody training here. Well, this year with leap year will be 364 or 365 out of 366.
Wow.
So somebody here on the ground, always training, always some kind of event going on.
And through the years, a lot of members of the military have been on this facility, been on this installation, that have never been to Mississippi until they were deployed here.
Yeah, was in a wedding in South Dakota a couple of years ago, and somebody said, where are you from, Mississippi? He said, oh, yeah, I've been to Camp Shelby. I'm like going, oh, where did you mobilize? Where did you deploy to? So, yeah.
It's incredible.
Yes.
And the other thing that I learned that a couple of years ago doing the show down here that just it really shocked me was how at one time the base extended all the way to just north of the coast, I believe,
yes,
right?
About down to where the Tradition campus is now. We understand that early on the thought that Keesler Army Airfield would be the Army airfield that serviced Camp Shelby. Yeah. So all the way down as far as just above Keesler. Yeah.
And it was a training base, right?
Yes, it was a training base that was founded in World War II, named for a Mississippian who was killed in World War I.
Wow. Well, I know, talking about the Vietnam War, lots of pilots trained right there at Keesler, right?
Yes, a lot of training at Keesler. We also had, during the various wars, have had, various other training installations. During World War II, there were 21 military training installations in Mississippi.
Wow, I had no idea.
Scattered all over the state, yes.
So just further evidence that the state of Mississippi has been a key participant in the military of this country.
Yes. Been a key participant really since they founded Camp Shelby in 1917, and we continue to have people pass through here. They're preparing to go overseas and getting ready for what the next piece of combat looks like. I mean, one of the things that General Ginn talked about at Retiree Day this past week is as we're beginning to develop a cyber network training area here at Camp Shelby.
So, keeping up with the times.
Keeping up with the times, indeed, yes.
That's unbelievable. Well, the facility is world-class. It's magnificent. You, Tommy, and everybody else does such a fantastic job of maintaining and operating it. Everybody needs to come see it. Tell our audience again the hours.
We're open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and we have you come through the south gate of Camp Shelby, so you can be vetted to come on post. And it's real easy. You just show your driver's license and come on in. And we're open also on the patriotic holidays, so Independence Day, Memorial Day, and today on Veterans Day.
Fantastic. Retired Colonel Mark Prine has been our guest here on Middays. We're at the Mississippi Armed Forces Museum at Camp Shelby. We're coming